Welcome back to the Rise with Anita podcast, or welcome if you're new here. This is a space where we explore the intersection of healing, identity, and the courage it takes to fully become who you're meant to be. Today's guest is someone I've been genuinely looking forward to sitting down with. I first met Jen last May at an event hosted by a mutual friend, and before I knew the depth of her work or her accomplishments, I was struck by her energy. There was something incredibly grounded about her, powerful but calm, clear, and intentional. The kind of woman who doesn't need to announce who she is. You can just feel it. Jen is a business mentor, digital marketing coach, and a TEDx speaker who helps coaches, creatives, and service providers simplify and scale their online businesses. She's built multiple successful ventures, leads a growing team, and has coached hundreds of women to create brands that are not only profitable, but deeply meaningful and purposeful. What I admire about Jen is that her work isn't just about scaling strategy, it's actually about building a legacy. It's about helping women step into ownership, leadership, and impact. So today we're diving into the evolution behind the success, the reinvention, the identity shifts, and the heart that fuels the work she does in the world. So Jen, welcome to the show. And I didn't say
Thank
her last
you.
name. It's Jen Morilla.
Jen
And
Morilla. Yes, yes,
I
yes, yes.
hopefully
Thank you,
didn't butcher
Anita.
that. I'm super excited. I've
Yeah,
been
thank you
looking
for
forward to
having
this
me.
conversation for quite some time.
Hmm.
And before we begin, would you mind taking a moment to get centered with me?
Yes, of course. I'd love that.
So if you're listening, wherever you are, just gently soften your shoulders. And we're going to take a slow inhale through the nose. Hold for 2 at the top and just lightly exhale for 4 out of your mouth. And we're going to do one more deep breath in. Hold for 2 and exhale for 4 and release. How does that feel?
Oh my God, I think I could go take a nap. I think my body needs it today.
No, you've been just running.
Yes, ma'ams.
So I always start off the podcast with something a little different than just heading straight into your resume, which is what is bringing you joy in this current season?
Oh, I love that question. First of all, thank you for such an amazing intro. Wow, I've done a lot of podcasts and I'm honored. What a beautiful intro. Thank you for that. The current season is, well, first of all, it's my birthday tomorrow. So I will be 37, which I feel like every time, and tell me if you feel like this, Anita, every time there's your birthday's coming up, you start thinking of the past and how much you've grown. And I am just in a phase of wow, I have come so far. I never would have imagined my life at 37 to be what it is today. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was, telling him, and I was like, my 20s were amazing. And my 30s are just so good. And I'm so excited for my 40s. Wow, I have 3 years to get there. And I just feel like I've just changed so much, and having those epiphanies and those moments of breakthrough and gratitude. And lately, I know you're into astrology, astrologically, everything that's been going on, I have been feeling so emotional. This past week, I was telling my best friend, I'm I can't tell you if I'm crying because I'm happy or I'm sad, but either or, I'm crying. I dropped a cracker that I thought had chocolate on it, and then my dog ate it, and I was crying about it. And I was oh my God, she's gonna die. And then I was oh, it was just she didn't eat the chocolate. The chocolate wasn't there. So I am just in a phase of gratitude for how far I've come in my life, personally, in my career. Yeah, and just in this phase of growth and being able to recognize how much I've been able to give back and help other people along the way. And I'm very excited for this year. I feel like 2026 is going to be a very big year for me.
Yes, the year of the fire horse.
Yes.
Different energy, different vibes. And I love that you brought it back to gratitude and just taking that centering. I feel like it can be so easy to be so overwhelmed, especially as a business owner. So
Yeah.
if we're able to have these moments of genuine gratitude for the day to day, it makes it so much more worth it. to continue the pursuit.
100%. Yeah.
I'm so excited, and you literally like, I love that you're into like honoring your birthday. I want to acknowledge that because so many people get to a point where as they're hitting like 40 or whatever it is, they're like, oh,
Yeah.
God, I don't want to age, but you're here embracing it and embracing the new wisdom, the new lessons that are
Yeah.
still coming forth, and I love that. So I just wanted to acknowledge you for that.
Thank you. It's received. Birthdays for me, I'm such a big birthday girl. Like I love birthdays. There's history behind that though. Do you mind if I share? Because I think your audience would actually appreciate it. So I'm sure we'll get into it at some point. But I had a younger brother who passed away, and he passed away at 19. And we were Irish twins, so you're gonna have apart. And we were really close. And 5 years after he passed away, I had a lot of struggle with depression and anxiety, and it's just a very like dark phase of my life. And I remember before I quit my corporate job to travel the world and do all the things that I really want to do, I made a bucket list of all the things that I remember my brother and I saying that we were going to do, that unfortunately he never got to do. And I set out to do them, and I accomplished most of them within the first like 2 or 3 years of me like setting off to do them. But in that time frame, it always started with my birthday. So for me, my birthday is such a significance of like life. And that's how I look at everybody's birthday. Like it's the day you decided you were going to get here. Well, you decided way before that, but it's the day that you were actually arrived here. And it's the day that you said, okay, I am going to show up and I'm going to learn whatever I'm meant to learn in this lifetime and teach the people and love and loss and do all the things that life is meant to have. And I think there's something beautiful about that. So for me, it is a privilege to grow old.
Beautiful perspective. And actually, I was actually gonna head into your brother, right?
Anyway,
It's a good segue. So 2010 was a pivotal year for you, as you mentioned. So I'm curious, how did losing your brother change the way you were looking at life and your perspective in that moment?
So we were Irish twins. So he was 19 and I was 21. He was a month away from being 20. Excuse me, did I just bite my lip? I think I just made myself bleed. Whoa. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Okay. We're okay. That was weird. I like taste blood, but I don't see blood. Anyways, let's start again. So what was the question? Oh, how did it start? Okay. So my brother and I were Irish twins. So he was 19, a month away from being 20, and I was 21. We were very close. In fact, I spoke to him a few hours before he passed away. And I spoke to him every single day. You know, my family and I, the way we grew up, we're very close. And so you grow up being told that, and your vision of life is in this bubble. And you grow up being told, like, do these things and live this life and you'll be happy, right? So, like, go to school, get a good job, find a partner, get the house, get the dog, buy the car, like, you know, check the boxes.
Check the boxes, yes.
Yeah. Yes. And I have always been someone that has struggled to check the boxes. Like, even when I was a kid, like, I had ADHD, like, I was not the straight A student. And I always, like, got to the finish line, but Jen's way. And my parents literally used to say, like, she's going to get to the finish line, but she's going to get to the finish line the way Jen gets to the finish line. And it's never a straight line. Never a straight line. It's always in zigzags. It's always, like, horizontal, like, whatever I'm feeling, but I get it done, right? And so when you get to a certain point in your life, especially your 20s, have you ever read the book, The Defining Decade?
Yes.
Okay, it's a great book, right? So anybody who's listening right now, The Defining Decade, the point of the book, if you haven't read it, you should read it. But the point of the book is that in your 20s, it's when you basically like mold the person you're going to become in your 30s and 40s, right? And when you have something as traumatic as like that, what happened with my brother happen, my life completely like flipped upside down. And so I tell people I grew up faster than most people in my 20s. My friendship group shifted. And it wasn't because I didn't have people, some people weren't there for me, and that's okay. I don't blame them. But I also couldn't be there for people, right? I couldn't show up for certain relationships, and I couldn't even show up for myself because I was struggling with that, because it just didn't make sense to me. Like when you lose someone so in such a traumatic way and in such a disoriented order, you're like, what is real life? Like, is this real? I remember waking up some days and thinking like, oh, this is just a really bad nightmare, and that he's going to walk through the door any minute, you know? And so when you're struggling with that mentally and emotionally, you look at life so differently. So I was told, check the boxes, do the thing. And I was that girl who tried to check all the boxes and follow the directions. I was a good girl. And then one day I flipped the table and I said, F this. Like, this isn't working. I'm not happy. I've done it. I've got the degrees. I've got the masters. I'm in the relationship. I don't feel supported. I'm not happy. And, relationship is a whole other conversation, but it was more so the relationship with myself. And I was like, why don't I know who I am? Why don't I know what I want? And if ultimately life is really just a blink and something as easy as like we're here one day, gone the next day can happen, what am I doing? Like, what is the point of all this? And at the time I had graduated university. Actually, it was my senior year of college. I went to do my master's, and then I started working in the corporate world. And I was working at a marketing agency. I was an account manager for an agency. So I was like, from the outside, the book was good. And I was in New York City. I was living in New York. Life was great. I was dating, all the things. On the inside, it was miserable. It was not good. And I say that laughing, loosely, because you look back now and I give her so much grace and so much love. The woman that she was and she had to be was just trying to survive and navigating who she was. So that really just shifted everything for me in my perspective. Yeah.
Amazing. And I just have to say, given how young you were when this all happened, I can totally relate to the aspect of like, oh, I grew up way too fast. Like, probably, I feel like you were probably in that generation where your friends are going out to the clubs and like hanging out and doing all the things, and you're just sitting there like in grief and living that day to day.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what was that what did that path look like for you, where you started to transition from the grief to, okay, I'm going to start living. I'm going to start honoring him in a sense, because I cannot live my life like I'm already past, basically.
Yeah. No, that's such a great question. For me, so to give you like a timeline perspective, so my brother passed away in 2010. I was working in corporate. I was 2012, 2013. So I was really struggling with depression and anxiety. I was to the point that I was seeing a therapist. I was on and off medication, antidepressants. And then I was having a lot of panic attacks. But like, I would be in the supermarket and I would have a full-blown panic attack. Have you ever had a panic attack, Anita?
I have.
Okay.
Not fun.
No, they're not fun, right? And literally imagine being in the supermarket and just like all of a sudden having to pick your favorite cereal and just like freezing. And like my hands would like, when you get like the claw hands.
Yes.
And I couldn't breathe. So anyways, these started to happen more frequently. And when I was on medication, I never felt like I could complete the emotion. It always felt like it was like a little bit of a try. It was a little bit of a cry or a little bit of an anger. And then like, I would just go over it and move on. So the biggest thing with grief that people don't realize is that when the person is actually in grief, especially when it's something like in the moment or most recent, they're still living in it. So even though it was months later or years later, because I hadn't processed it, I was still living in it every single day. But I can see that my surrounding had changed. Like I can see that my friends were doing different things and like moving on and blah, blah, blah and stuff. But every single day I was in it and I was going through the same thing and the same process. So I started to work with my therapist. I did a lot of EMDR work. I did a lot of NLP. I started doing all of that. Then I started to dive into meditation because I was like, I don't want to be on I don't want to be on medication anymore. And I really want to figure out like, what is my voice telling me? Like there's a voice in my head that's like telling me to slow down. And it's like, why can I slow down? So I really started to tap into like my inner voice, the meditation, all of that. And I really started to just shift my perspective. I started to realize that like the life I was living wasn't actually, like I said, like the front cover looked good, but behind the scenes it was a shit show. And so the woman that I was becoming, I was really not proud of her. Like I was going out and I was drinking and I was partying and I was doing all these things, but it was just numbing the pain from actually sitting in the grief and processing what had happened, right? And I was angry at my brother, and I was angry at God, and I was angry at my family, and was angry at myself. And there was just so much anger without even, and it wasn't like raging anger, it was like sad anger. And then it was raging, and then it was sad. So I started to do a lot of the work, like the inner, the mental work, the spiritual work. And then I started to distance myself from certain people, certain friendships groups, and I started to see things differently. I was like, wait a minute. I'm starting to see that like this isn't me. And like this isn't, like if my brother were here and he was still around, he'd be like, well, what are you doing? Like, this is not you, you know? I found myself in certain like rooms. I could be in, it was actually, I'll never forget it. It was like one specific event where I was at a party and the room was full. Like you couldn't move. It was so packed. And I felt so alone. I remember like people were talking to me and I was listening and I was like, oh my God. And in my head, I was like, it sounded like the, you know, the Snoopy teacher that was like, wah, 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 wah. That's what I was hearing. I was like, this is not good. This is really not good. So I started to ask the questions of like, why am I here? What is the point? What do I actually enjoy? What don't I enjoy? I started to ask them like really deep questions. Questions that like most 20-year-olds don't really ask themselves. You know, they'll probably ask like, what's the purpose of life? Or what's the purpose of my career or whatever. But like, it'll stop there. Mine just kept going. And I started to like look at my parents and they obviously that's a totally different conversation, right? They struggled a lot. It was their son. Look at my sister. She lost her brother too, right? She was at a different phase in life because she had gotten married. Like she was starting a family. Like it was different. So I felt very alone. And I quickly started to ask myself, like, what's the point of all this? And this isn't actually who I am. So when I started to ask those questions and really have time to reflect on them, the answers just started to show up. And I started to have like downloads almost where, and then that's when my, like the environment started to shift. I started to like, I had a plan. I like was going to quit my job in 8 months. I like moved back home. I sold everything. Like I got rid of, like talk about like a purge. Like I got rid of like old clothing, old memory, like anything like that was in boxes. I went to flea markets on Sundays and I would sell most of my shit to save money to pay off like a credit card debt and then save money so that I can go and I can travel and I can do what I wanted to do. But I had a vision and I had a mission of what I wanted to. I stopped going out. I stopped drinking. I really started to journal more, meditate. I started to work out, look at what I was eating. And that's how it started. I started to I was brave enough to hold up the mirror and be like, the woman I see is not the woman I want to become. And if I continue to go down this path, it's probably not going to be a good one. So something has to shift. And we are the creators of our reality. I am 1000% a firm believer. I think we're all in a stimulation. I think it all starts up here and then we just like puppet ourselves. And I have proof of that every single day more and more based on like what I create and what I've created for my life. But I've always believed that in some way, shape, or form without actually knowing the practicalities of it. And I started to do that very young.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And it reminds me, so the tagline for my business is actually transform your pain into purpose.
Love it.
And that's exactly what you've done.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly what you've done. You've
100%.
anchored your biggest pain and in the honesty and the reflection of what could have been a further spiral, you ended up doing the work to pull yourself out. And now you're fucking incredible. Let's just be honest. Like,
Thank you.
I have to like, because again, when we go back to your age, that is the part that's like mind blowing because so many people would have still probably been in that grieving stage at 37. Let's just be honest, because it's something that you don't just get over. You have to put in the work to actually take that action. And I love that you brought it back to the questions you were asking about asking yourself.
Yep.
Because there's such power in the question. And so I'm curious though, when you were asking yourself these questions, did you find that they were immediate? You would get the answer as you were starting to ask, or I know you said it started downloading, but what was that like time process? Because sometimes I find that you can be in reflection, but if you're a little bit too in your head of like the
Yeah.
overthinking, it's you kind of block the answer. So did you feel like you were already open and available for it?
Um, it was learning to trust. Like, I think at that point, my relationship with God really began to shift for me. Um, Faith has been my biggest anchor, is the word I want to use, because those questions don't actually have answers.
Yeah.
Like, they're whatever you want them to be. So the answer could have been continue partying and drinking and like live in New York, climb the corporate ladder, make a fuck ton of money, and like then you could do whatever you want. And that'd be okay too. Would I have gotten there? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. How successful I would have been, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. But it's neither wrong or right. Like you get to choose what that looks like. And in my heart, it didn't feel right. And when I started to think of the life I wanted to create, I would get really excited. And like it's like this like tingling feeling. So like if anybody's ever quit their corporate job, still this day I remember the feeling of like the day that I knew I was going to put in my 2 weeks. I was hot mess express. I literally cried my eyes out in the bathroom before I went to my boss at the end of the day to like give him my resignation letter, because I knew I was never going to go back. I was like, this, I know that I'm meant for more. And when you dream about it, and like the dreams keep you up at night, like the vision of what could potentially happen. And the funny thing is that I was so like 25-year-old Jen, 26-year-old Jen was so brave because I didn't think of I didn't think of the risks. And also, to be fair, I was privileged enough to not have any risks. To be fair, I was single. I didn't own anything besides my car. Like there was nothing really tying me. I wasn't in a relationship. Like I had the privilege to be able to do it. I had money saved up. Like I did it on my own and I had the privilege to be able to. So I recognize like how grateful and how privileged I was to be able to do that. But that girl was still really fucking brave because when I look back now, I think the older we get, the harder it is for us to take risks because we realize the precautions and like the things that could actually happen. And when I look back now, like I get why my parents were like, "You're doing what? You've quit your career to do what?" Like they just looked at me like I was crazy. And I mean, I was. But I say all that to say that where I was more painful than where I wanted to be. And in my head, I was like, I would rather try and get to the end of the line and know that I failed, but I still tried and I gave it my all, than sit here another day and be like, oh, I want this, but I don't think I have the balls to do it. And going through all I'd gone through, like hitting rock bottom multiple, I don't think you hit rock bottom once, you hit multiple times, like, you know, and then seeing what my family had been through, losing my brother, feeling that pain. Like when you go through something like that, it doesn't have to be a sibling, it could be a parent, it doesn't matter. When you go through that pain and that loss, like something shifts. And it would rather be, it's better, it feels better to have tried and failed than to sit in that pain any day longer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Beautiful segue. I'm curious though. So, having brought up that you ended up losing your brother, how do you think that changed your perspective on impact and legacy, if at all?
I think if you would have asked me that question 10 years ago, I would have said that was like the point of life, right? To leave impact, to leave legacy, to leave something behind. I still think there's a piece of that is true. But I also believe that it's probably going to sound really like morbid, but it's also, I think, a sense of freedom. For those people who are listening and are like, I want to go do this thing, or I want to go launch this business, or I want to go, you know, ask this person out on a date, or whatever it is that you're thinking about, for those of you listening, you're going to die like one day, hopefully a very long time from now, right? Like that's what you pray for. And one day, nobody will remember you. Like your kids won't remember you. You'll just be, you know, your great aunt, great grandmother, mother, daughter, whatever, right? And it's a cycle of life. The because of that feeling and knowing that you only have a certain amount of time. So I heard a statistic the other day that blew my mind that says when people get to 40, they've lived 56% of their life. And I was like, holy shit. And then the study said that most people only have 36 years of life left after that. And I was like, that's it? I was like, that's it? That's all we have? Like, you best believe, like, I want to have a great time. Like, I want to walk out of here, like, all scarred up and shit. You know? Like, I think to me, I'm like, that is a reason to try it and fail. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But at least you gave your all and you had the courage to say, I gave it my all. So, to me, it's that little thing of, like, eventually we're going to die. You choose to be remembered how you want to be remembered. At some point, nobody will remember you. So ultimately, it doesn't matter. We're just a poof. We're just a blimp in a time and space. That's it.
Crazy. I love your perspective, though, because yes, it kind of comes off morbid.
Yeah. It's like, I will work.
But
Yeah.
for me, one of the experiments exercises
Yeah.
that actually was really helpful was doing the eulogy exercise. I'm sure you're very familiar with it, where it's like, what would you want people to say about you when you do pass?
Yeah.
And the aspect of like how you see yourself as you lay on a deathbed. And again, this is very morbid stuff.
Morbid.
And
Yeah.
I do not go this route with the podcast, but
Yeah.
was so impactful for me because I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
If things don't change, and I have an interesting perspective because I've also had relationships in my life where it's like, I'm giving you the opportunity. If you don't take it, I'm not the one who's gonna be on my deathbed going, oh man, I wish I would have done more for that relationship or
Right.
showed up a little differently. That's gonna be you.
Yeah.
And I say that, it sounds a little arrogant. I'm not giving the context to it, but it's one of those things where I was like, oh my gosh, the deathbed is such a perspective shifter because you realize how not little, but how short this life actually really is.
It goes by so fast.
It goes by so fast. And it's like, even for me, this last year has felt like, God, little like speed chunks throughout.
Yeah.
And I'm like, did time start flying or do I just notice it more?
Yeah. No, I feel like time has gone by so much faster. Like I remember as a kid being like, oh my God, in school, I couldn't wait for 2:30 to hit so I can go out and play. Like now as an adult, I'm like, I wake up and it's already 2:30. I don't actually wake up at 2:30, but I'm like, oh my God, it's already 2:30. Like I have so much to do and there's not enough time. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's, the most important thing is at the end of the day, we're all here. To me, the purpose of life is building relationships and community. We psychologically cannot survive without each other.
Absolutely.
Like people that live in a mountain and live alone are likelier to die faster because they don't have that community. So if you've built a life around pushing people away, you're not doing yourself any favors. And so if you can create and cultivate a community of people that love you in a way that you love them and show up for them in all the ways, and if that is truly the purpose of life, like we're all here for one another, just have fun with it and do it from a place of love and genuineness, and I think that's really important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So segueing a little bit, we've touched on a lot of grief.
Yeah, let's move away from the morbid stuff. Your listeners are going to be like, what's wrong with this podcast? No, but I hope if you're listening, you have some inspiration. This is like, yeah, she's right. I'm going to go make that cringe post, or I'm going to go ask that guy or girl out. Yeah.
Right. I'm curious, for you, what was harder? Leaving corporate or letting go of the social girl traveler?
The social girl traveler. Oh,
I did my research.
Oh my God, I'm so proud of you, Anita. Oh, the social girl traveler.
Which actually, for those who don't know, what was the social girl traveler?
Okay, so guys, when I quit my corporate job, I started a blog, and it was the Social Girl Traveler. I carried clean water filters to developing countries. And I did that for 3.5 years before I started doing what I do now, which is like an online educator, where I have a podcast, a YouTube, and I teach people how to monetize off their expertise through high ticket offers and evergreen. And yeah, the Social Girl Traveler was my baby. You know, I'm gonna say that no one's ever asked me that question before. I'm dumbfounded. Okay, I'm gonna say 9 to 5 because it was actually like I was actually at a crossroads, and like the crossroads weren't like a V. It was like a straight left or a right, and depending on which way I went, my world was gonna change. And I loved my job. Like my job was my team, like my boss was amazing. And he's still one of my mentors today. Like I've still gone, like we've done projects together, I've done consulting work. So like the 9 to 5 was hard because I was also betting on me, like 100%. And I remember telling my parents when I left to travel the world, they were like, what are you going to do about your job? And I said to them, I said, listen, I'm going to give this a year. I'm going to travel. I'm going to spend my money. If in the very least, I gain nothing from this and I don't start a business and I don't do what I set out to do, I will have learned a lot. But I have 2 degrees. I speak 3 languages. Like I can always go back and push paper whenever. And I remember saying that to them and being like, yeah, if it doesn't work, I can always go back. And even though deep down I knew like that was never gonna happen. That was never gonna happen. So I would have to say it was the hardest thing. And also just because psychologically, we're trained to work for other people. Like our school system teaches us to work for other people. They don't teach us to be leaders. That's why entrepreneurs have such a hard time being entrepreneurs, because when you're in corporate, you have a management system. Even if you're the CEO, like you still have a team that you can always ask and be like, oh, should we go in the right direction? Blah, blah, blah. But when you're an entrepreneur, especially when you're starting, you're doing it all by yourself. Like you have to make your own choices. You have to make your own risks, calculate, do all of it by yourself. And school does not train you to do that. They train you how to follow directions.
Absolutely.
And if you don't follow directions, there's something wrong with you. And to be fair, that was like the biggest thing in school. Like I literally could not follow directions for the life of me. So like,
well, now you make your own direction.
Exactly. So yeah, so for me, I would have to say the hardest thing was quitting the 9 to 5, like leaving that like actual like mental shift, huge. Letting go of the Social Girl Traveler was like a heartbreak, but she's always gonna be me. Like I literally was the brand, and like you can still Google the Social Girl Traveler, and everything comes up under Jennifer Morilla, you know. So yeah,
Beautiful.
the Social Girl
Yeah, I
Traveler.
told you I got you.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I love it. So good. Yeah.
I'm curious, in your perspective, how do you know when it's time to let an identity go?
That's a good one. I feel like the cliche answer is like when you know, but it's kind of true. Like deep down, you really know, and you have to get quiet. Like you have to listen to that voice that's like, you have to walk away. I feel like we always get the download or like the answer first. We just as humans look for the outside evidence. And I did this with the Social Girl Traveler. Like I already knew, and then I looked for outside evidence over time, and then just kept showing up. Then I was like, oh, but I don't know. And then eventually I pulled the plug and I was like, I gotta go. Yeah, I think you know. Truthfully, I think you know.
Very true. I'm curious. So you kind of had to go through like a public involvement because your blog was literally like your life on the road.
Yeah.
And you're already posting on social, doing the thing. So what was it? Were there any fears associated to having to actually like kind of transition your life again publicly this time?
Yeah.
Because this time you had eyes watching you of like, oh, what is she doing now?
You know what's funny is I think we make it bigger than what it is because I built such a strong community. My community was already asking me for a shift. So when I put the Social Girl Traveler to rest, it was the end of 2018. And all of 2018, my audience was constantly asking me for like, how do you monetize? How do you build a brand? How do you tell a story? How do you monetize? Like literally every single message, every single blog post, my emails. And I was like, and at that point, courses were very brand new. Amy Porterfield came out with like her big like online course, I think 2 years before. And I was like, should I do this? My audience was asking me for it. They were like, how do you do this? And so my very first online course was how to build a brand and sell, like tell your story and how to build a brand and sell whatever it is that you're good at. And I had an $11,000 launch. And prior to that, I'd only ever worked with brands. And if you've ever worked with brands, if you're listening to this, the thing with brands is at the end of the day, you're still kind of tied to a 9 to 5 without actually being a 9 to 5. Like depending on what the deliverables are, you have like legal obligations to these deliverables, and it isn't an instant transaction. So like if you create a post, it's not like you get paid right away. It's dependent on the campaign and the project, and you can get paid anywhere between 30, 60, 90 days. So like sometimes I'd close a brand deal that was like a $10,000 brand deal, but I wouldn't get paid. First of all, most of the time it was like 3 payments, and I wouldn't start to get paid until 60 days or 90 days in. Which means that for 3 or 6 months, or 3 months, I wasn't getting paid shit, but I had to deliver the work, right? So it was just a different mindset. So at that point, that's all I was doing. I did a lot of consulting, speaking gigs. I was on stages. I did a lot of podcast interviews. So I was like well known, and my audience was continuing to grow. But my core audience, who had been following me for a long time, were like, how do you monetize this? And so when I launched that course, it was so successful, and most people were constantly like knocking on my door, like, I would love to book a one-on-one, a one-time session, whatever. And so end of 2018 was when I began the pivot, and I finally let it go at the end of 2018. And then I relaunched my YouTube channel as Jen Morilla, and then just became more of an online educator to really teach people. I was also personally exhausted of traveling. I was traveling for 3.5 years. I was living out of a suitcase. I probably was only home anywhere between 2 weeks a month. I think like that's a lot, especially that last year. My mental, my physical health also was like, I had like really bad gut issues, which coincided with my mental health. Like I was just like, something's got to give because it's not working anymore. So my audience was kind of asking for it. So it wasn't as hard because my audience was asking for it. I just made it harder because I had such an emotional attachment to it. And I had a vision of where I wanted to be, like I wanted to like turn it into a show. And then when I quickly realized like, actually this isn't really working for me anymore. And I'm not going to get there. Like it's actually becoming way harder than I need it to be. Is when I made that shift.
Beautiful answer. And I think there's something interesting here is you weren't afraid of the pivot. Yes, your audience was already asking for it, but also you weren't afraid to be like, I've experienced this, I did the thing.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to go try something else.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've done that a lot in my career. If anybody that's listening to this is watching this from like I have followers that have been following me since the Social Go Traveler, and they've seen all the facets of my change. In 2023, I really like streamlined my business, and like I had multiple programs and courses and the whole shababble. And I literally was like, no, this isn't working anymore. This is a lot of work and I don't want it. Like I created this so that I can have more time and freedom. And I literally like streamlined everything, and just got more dialed in. And like my audience saw that. It wasn't necessarily a pivot in like the industry, it was more so the business model. But yeah, my audience saw that. And I think that's important. Like if you're going to be online and you're going to show like how it is to run a business, like you should show the facets and the changes, because businesses change. Like they shouldn't be stagnant. If your business is stagnant, it's a problem.
Your business is either growing or it's dying.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you actually just segued me into a perfect spot.
I love it. I can do this. It's just a natural evolution.
Which is you're known for helping women simplify their businesses so they can amplify their impact. Do you think that philosophy was shaped by what you went through personally, or was it just solely through your experience as a business owner?
I think it's a little bit of both. Like I went to grad school and everything. They don't really teach you they teach you how to be a leader and how to be a manager. They don't actually teach you how to be a CEO. And so, with that comes so many things. And I think that between my personal life and just my overall business growth, yeah, I've learned that. Especially women, men are not like this. We are such emotional beings, and it's our superpower, and it's the most beautiful thing that we have as women. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love that I'm such an emotional, sappy, whatever, crab, because, Cancer rising. I love it. I'm also like, I can also get angry, right? Like, but I love that I wear my emotions on my sleeve, because it's who I am. You'll never, like, I'm not a vindictive person. You know what I mean? Like, I'm never out to get somebody. And if I was, you would see it, because you literally see it all over my face. So like, it's just, I think that, yeah, I think it's both. I think I've learned from both personal and business how to be like that. And I think as women, we just complicate things because we put so many things before ourselves. That makes sense? Like emotionally, physically. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
women are known for overgiving, overextending, and
Yeah.
the podcast I just filmed right before this one, actually, we ended up talking about how often you can't really, they say you can't pour out of an empty cup. And
Yeah.
she was like, actually, that's not true, though.
You can.
Technically, you can pour yourself down to where you're just the cup.
Yep. Yep.
Because it's like nature, but if you don't put that stop to like the people pleasing and whatnot, you're gonna hit your like actual like spiral.
Yeah.
But when you say your emotions are on your like sleeve, I'm the exact same way.
Yeah.
It's funny because I literally was talking to a friend of mine, and we have a mutual friend who's a guy who's also in the coaching space, and I was like, man, if I could just master his poker face, like, life would be so good. Because for me, like, I'm very animated. I'm like, I have, like, you can see how I am in that moment.
Yeah.
With him, it's like, whenever you speak to him, like, you can barely tell what he's thinking. Or if, like, I've had moments where he'll be like, oh, we had such an exciting conversation. And afterwards, I'm like, that was exciting for you? Like, I would have never known. Whereas, like,
It's hilarious. Yeah.
for me, it's like you
Yeah.
can just tell when you're into it.
Yeah.
And so it was funny that you brought that up, because it's just like we are so like animated is the way I'll put it. But
Yeah, I mean, I don't think everybody's like that, but I definitely am 100%. But I get like, that's what makes me, right? Like, that's why people work with me, because I call it as it is. Like, I'm not gonna beat around the bush, you know?
yeah, you don't sugarcoat, which I love.
Yeah.
What did you personally have to simplify internally before you could truly amplify your reach externally?
What I wanted. What I ultimately wanted, and get very crystal clear with that. And what that meant to me, like why I wanted that thing. The career, the business, the relationship, whatever it was that I was in the season for. Yeah, because I think that we're programmed by our environment to choose the things that we want based on our environment. Right? So like, for example, this is a good one, especially for women, if you're listening. I froze my eggs at 32. And when I froze my eggs at 32, I asked myself, why am I doing this? I mean, I paid for it myself. I was the first one of all my girlfriends to start this. It was such an emotional roller coaster for me. And I thought, like, do I actually want kids? Like, I never actually asked myself that question. I grew up playing with dolls and like, I love babies, but like, do I actually want to like birth a child and raise something myself? It's a question that we don't ask ourselves. We just are wired from little girls to think that that's what it is. And there's nothing wrong with not wanting kids. And there's nothing wrong with wanting kids, right? It's just a choice. And we are at a point in time in history where we actually have a choice, because there was a time where we didn't, and it was just
Expected.
exactly. And so when I started to ask myself those questions, and I do that often, I've done that my whole life, like, why am I actually doing this? Like, what is the point of all this? I think a big career pivotal point for me is when I started to make a lot of money, and I put my validation for who I was tied to how much money I made. And that's really dangerous. That's very dangerous. And when I see my clients doing that, I'm the first one to be like, oh no, time out, everybody freeze, pause. Like, what you make is not, you are not who you are because of what you make. but our society teaches us that. I'm sure your parents at some point, and they didn't know any better, and it's okay. We're not shaming anybody. They did the best they could with what they had. But when you realize the tie to that, it becomes really dangerous. So, yeah, it really is like like yourself.
Beautiful. You're
Yeah.
whole as you are is basically what she's trying to say.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Yes. I say that all the time. I say you're whole, perfect, and complete. You don't
Beautiful.
actually, and depending on your perspective of life, you don't actually, you can do whatever you want. Like, that's what I tell my clients, and they're like, I want to have this. And I'm like, yeah, do you want it, or do you want it because you see everybody else having it and you think that you need to have it? And when that question is asked, you'll see the lights, the eyeballs do this, and they're like, oh, I never thought of it like that. And I'm like, ask yourself, what do you want? And how do you want it to look? Because just because Samantha Smith has it looking like this doesn't mean that you have to do it in that same way. You could do it differently.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm curious, in your own journey, what have you had to consistently strip away in order to grow, excuse me? And why is it important for you to have women that are building businesses that actually mean something to them outside of just the money, but more purposeful and aligned?
Yeah.
Which is why, again, you and I are just on this like segue, perfect synergy. I just want to acknowledge that because I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. No. Because business is hard. Life is hard. And it's not rainbows and butterflies. And having a strong why is always going to allow you to keep going. Having that resilience is going to allow you to keep going. So if your why is bigger than the pain or the fear that you have, you will be successful. It's just a matter of time. It's not if, it's just when. And I find that women that have big goals, dreams, and purposes are like, yeah, they're likely to make it happen. And it's beautiful. Again, it goes back to your core, your purpose, and your reasoning.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So this is the aspect that I feel like most people who don't know you wouldn't realize, but you
Yeah.
pretty much blend mindset with cold, hard strategy.
Yeah.
What role has spirituality or your relationship with God, universe, I don't know what you call it,
Yeah.
something bigger than you played in your day-to-day life and your success now?
Yeah. Well, I am who I am today because I've stripped layers of things that weren't me, that were just imprinted on me. And that's through inner work, psychology, therapy, all the things, but also spiritually, coming back to answering those questions and giving yourself and hearing that voice. We all have that intuitive voice. Everybody. You have that little voice in your head. And sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. Most of the times it's right. It's just like you just not listening to it and you like going against the grain because you don't actually want to do the thing. But I've become who I am because I've stripped away layers of that. And I wouldn't have been able to face the demons or to hold the mirror up and see the roles that you play. I talk about this in my TED Talk, like being the victim or the creator. And a lot of people live in victim and they don't even realize it, their outside circumstances. And like, I can get as much hate as I want for this. I don't care. Like, I've been in multiple situations where I've been like, shit, like, kind of put myself here, like not actually purposely like make a wrong turn and like put my face into a brick wall. But if I'm being honest, yeah, I probably did based on the decisions, the calculations, and what I did. And you got a choice. Does it happen overnight? Does change happen quickly? No. It's about consistency. It's about discipline. And it's about that compound change over time. And that's where people struggle with. We want that instant gratification, and it doesn't work like that. Like, think about it. Imagine if you could manifest right away. And you thought, like, I want an elephant, and then all of a sudden an elephant showed up in your living room. What the fuck would you do with an elephant in your living room?
Right?
Right? Like, do you know how, first of all, have you ever seen an elephant dump? Like, take a dump? It's massive. Like, what would you do with an elephant in your living room? And that's the mentality when it comes to manifesting or wanting what you want in your life. It takes time and it doesn't happen overnight. It can, but it won't happen actually overnight. You have to do the work and make the changes before. So yeah, it's
Amazon Prime success is what she's trying to say.
yes, it is. And so like to me, it really has been having that faith and that surrender and trust, because that's a big part of it too. Like once you know and trust that there's something greater out there, yeah. And I think that God is within us. we can go deeper into that. That's up to you. But like, I think God is within us. Not like we're godly or anything like that, but I think that God is within each and every single one of us. And when you can tap into that inner knowing and that inner trust, like you've struck gold, honey. Like,
Absolutely. And I feel like even in our space, it could be so easy to like look for what is this mentor going to tell me to do that's different.
yeah,
And I'm all about having mentors.
yeah,
And this is not a PSA to diss mentorship and like
yeah, yeah,
whatnot, but sometimes it's just getting quiet and listening to what God is telling you, what your intuition is telling you, and being
yeah,
like, okay, I know what to do, so I should just do it.
yeah. Yeah, and it's so hard for people too, right? I think the discernment comes between the inner knowing and the actual knowing. So
Hmm.
like there's two knowings. There's the knowing of knowing what to do, but then there's not the knowing of how to actually do it. And
Yeah,
that's when you have to get honest with yourself. You're like, actually, I don't know how to create this email sequence. Like, I don't know actually how to, I'm giving you like a shitty example, but like, I don't actually know how to write these emails or like talk to my ideal client. And like, it's an actual skill gap. And it's like, okay, great. Now I know that I should probably. But if you actually know how to do it and you're not doing it, it's just that inner voice inside of you that's stopping you. You have to ask yourself why. Like, what's the fear behind it? What's the subconscious belief, whatever it is that's coming through that's stopping you from achieving the thing that you want to do?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. This conversation has been so good. And
I
just
know. I love this. So good.
I'm curious, in what ways does your life currently still feel like a tribute?
You mean like a tribute to my brother?
Hmm.
No, that's a very interesting question. Um, I don't think it's as heavy as it used to be. I think I've let go of that. I think that was a big part of my healing journey. Like coming to terms and realizing that like it's okay to live my own life now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
Valid
hard.
is huge when it comes to the healing journey I found.
Yeah.
When you get to a place where you're neutral and there's no charge either which way,
Yeah.
that's like, oh, I think for me, that's what I've started to define actual healing as.
Yeah.
Because then there's not that like resistance or that fuel.
Yeah. And I'd be lying if I say that like it wasn't something that I struggled with for a long time because it's not true. Oh, absolutely. I still doesn't mean I don't think about him. It doesn't mean I don't love him. I think about him every day. I talk to him every day, but it's a different relationship now, you
Absolutely.
know. And I getting to that place of realizing like, oh, this is your life, and you get to live it how you want to live it now. Like you've done. Thank you. Was one of the most beautiful moments and times that I had in my healing journey. So I wouldn't say as much anymore, but
There's
certain
still,
things.
yeah,
There's certain things that I would like, oh yeah, that I would do that for him.
love that. I'm curious. So now when you hit certain milestones, revenue, impact, building your team, what do those moments mean to you beyond numbers?
It's a sense of expansion and impact. It's just validation for what I know that already exists. I don't believe that like the ideas and like the crazy like dreams that you have are just like out of thin air. Because I've met people who don't have like crazy wild dreams and that's okay. Like they just want to, that's good. We need people like, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Right. And when I share my big dreams and like the things that I want to accomplish with people that aren't necessarily interested or want that for themselves, they're always like interesting. Like their mind is blown. And like to me, it feels like second nature. And so I believe that it actually is the future version of you just having like breadcrumbs. Like this is what you need to think about now. This is what you need to think about later, you know?
It's the uncovering is the way I see it.
Yes.
It's like you don't always have the full picture
Yeah.
of what you're building, but you have these little like breadcrumbs of ideas, and as you walk that path,
Yeah.
bit by bit, you're going to find where that overall arc is.
Yeah.
But you have to start following the breadcrumbs.
Yes.
So I'm just so excited that we've had this conversation, and I'm sure our listeners are going to want to dive deeper with you. So, what are you excited about right now in terms of what you're building and bringing into this world? And how can our audience go deeper and connect with you?
Well, they can find me on social media at Jennifer.Morilla. And I will be there to answer all the questions. Shoot me a DM. Let me know you guys are coming from Anita's podcast. You can also check me out on my website at jennifer.morilla.com. What am I building? Be on the lookout for my event coming up down in Miami. So I'm very excited about that. Yeah, it's going to be a very intimate women's lunch and workshop event that's happening. Yeah, and that's going to happen in Miami in early May. So be on the lookout for that. We'll be dropping that very soon. Yeah, and just continuing to grow the brand and the business. And the new season of the podcast is going to be dropping soon. So it's good stuff.
Exciting. And I
Yeah.
always end my podcast with a quick fire round. So
Love it.
whatever is the first thing that comes to mind, are you ready for me?
Okay, I'm ready. Give it to me. Hit
Book.
me, girl.
A recent book that you've read that changed your life.
A recent book that changed my life. Actually, I have it on my Audible. Hold on one second. I will tell you actually what it was. The name and the title of this book. What the heck? What is where is it? Where is it? The Science of Scaling. That's what it was. Yep. The Science of Scaling by Benjamin Hardy. Yeah. I had so many epiphanies on that book with scaling and like having big dreams and like focusing on the one thing. I think we get distracted by so many things versus like, this is the goal. This is where we want to take it. Yeah.
Beautiful. A word that describes your current season.
Growth.
Love that. Really non-negotiable that fuels your power.
Sleep.
You went literal with that one.
Yeah. You said rapid fire questions. I'm giving you like the genuine answers that are like
Beautiful.
straight. Yeah.
Song that instantly lifts your mood. Or makes you want to dance.
A song that instantly lives like anything Bad Bunny.
So the Super Bowl must have been a blast for you.
Oh God, I could not sit still. I was dancing nonstop.
Beautiful. And a place that I had to ask you this one because you've been traveling so much.
Yeah.
A place in the world that makes you feel the most alive.
That's a tall one. I would say Sydney. I love Sydney, Australia. Yeah, that's my place.
Best advice you've received in a single sentence.
It is a privilege to grow old.
Beautiful. And lastly, what's one thing you want women to stop apologizing for?
Women to stop apologizing for. Making space.
Or taking it.
Yeah, taking up space. I think it's like the weakest thing we could do. So we need space. Yeah.
Well, Jen, this has been such an incredible conversation, and
Likewise.
I'm so grateful that we were able to do this. For the listeners, I hope this was a reminder that grief doesn't always have to be, how do I say this? It doesn't always have to be the end of a crossroad. It can just be a new beginning if you allow it to. And sometimes our biggest pain points are actually our biggest invitations to dive deeper, learn more about ourselves, and find ourselves again. So if you're listening to this, I hope you enjoyed the episode. You can connect with us on our socials down below. And that is it for this episode. I will see you on the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you.